Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Down Low. This is Mike Dorezzo. With me, as always, is my buddy Joel Lowe. Uh, Joel,
Hello.
this is
Morning.
good
Good.
morning.
Hey.
Um, so this is part five, right? We've hit part five where you've actually started the job. You applied for the job. You well, first off, you set up your profile. You
Yep.
communicated, networked with it. Let's talk about a recap before we start the first day here. Um, so best time to look for a job
Is when you
is
have a job.
when you have a job.
Yep.
Um, and always be looking, right? And that's not to say don't be appreciative of the job that you have today, but
Yep.
just be aware of that, the job that you may really want and really love and really hope for may be there when looking when you have a job, right? And so you have
Right.
some decisions to make and stuff like that. But always be looking. Network, the best jobs and the best roles are not always on a job board, right? They make it
Yep.
to the job board because they couldn't think of somebody who might be appropriate and because they're a publicly traded company and they're required by law to post the job publicly. But
Right.
that initial, like, hey, who do we think can fit this job? um if you're looking, let people know, appropriate people know that you're looking, right? Don't let
Right.
your boss know unless you have that kind of relationship. What else you got, Joel?
I mean, so and then after you do your networking, start looking at the companies that you like, right? The
Right.
companies that you hear good things about. Reach out to them to see if there's something open. Let them know that you're out in the field, and then start applying, right? And
Right.
then make sure you tailor your resume to that job
Yeah.
posting, right? Just
Yeah.
don't send out a resume that you have. Try to read through their hitting code of what they're actually looking for, and make sure your experience lines up, right? We talked about too, not copying the description and putting it on the background of your
Yeah.
resume, so that the algorithms will pick up on keywords and move your resume to the front, right?
Yeah.
So don't do that, right?
No. No, don't do that. Don't
And
do that.
now we're kind of at the point where we have applied for the job, we've interviewed, right? So you went through all the different stages. We talked about what questions to ask and how you kind of conduct yourself in that interview. And now we're at the we've accepted the job and we're getting ready to go into the job. So what does that look like, right?
Right,
What?
and we've negotiated everything. You're happy. You know what you're getting. You're happy with what you're getting. You're not gonna have just a bad taste in your mouth when you start and you're like, wow, everybody here makes so much more money than I do and
Right,
have so
right.
much more vacation time and have less experience.
But
Like,
how did that happen? Right,
right. And
right,
I wasn't always the best negotiator. And it is what it is. Make sure at the end of the day you're happy, right?
right,
That you're not doing that. So you start in, you got the package, you got a start date, you've confirmed with HR, you got your nice new suit or outfit for your first day. You come dress appropriately, right? I mean, don't let's not overdo it. Don't wear a three-piece suit if you're driving a forklift. Because
right.
your suit may get caught in that forklift, and nobody wants that to
That could
happen.
be an issue.
It could be an issue. But so, you had a good point as a leader or maybe someone who has a value trusted opinion, right, by leadership and things like that. Um, you know, real world lessons of things not to do. We've seen some of those in the news lately.
Right,
Our friend Elon Musk and Twitter, right? Like just immediately make changes without knowing the culture and the impact, right? And maybe he knew it. I don't. We don't know. We're not
right,
in Elon's inner circle.
right,
I don't even own a Tesla, but
yeah,
you know, as you're staying in touch with HR, you're doing all this. Just keep all your opinions set and ready, right? So you may have done your research from outside the organization. You may have
yep,
said, okay, well, I need to pay attention to that. I need to see what that looks like and keep an eye on that. Um, but don't vocalize anything yet, right?
right.
Start understanding the real story. And what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's dangerous to come in and immediately start making a lot of moves, right?
Right.
Without understanding, again, like you stated, the culture, right? You truly need to understand what's going on and who key players are, right? There's certain people in organizations that know where everything is, right? Know all the bodies are buried, understand the history of things, and they may be the most annoying person there, right? Um, and you immediately want to get rid of them because they could be toxic or whatever it is. But there's inherent knowledge that you need to get from them, and it could be a bad day, when once they're gone, and you're like, okay, well, how do we handle this? And they're like, well, we don't know. So we just did that. Well, what we do if something happened to them? We don't know, right? So again, truly making decisions with knowing all of the information, right? And in
Yeah.
your first week, you're not gonna know all
No,
of the information, right? It's
probably your
just
first month.
it's not possible, right?
Yeah.
So my thing is you need to keep your cards close to your chest, right? And really just take a lot of notes, right? You jot down, hey, that's duly noted. That's very interesting. Okay, boom. Like really, really try to understand what's going on. And once you figure out, okay, here's my path, here's I want to do it, run it by somebody in the company that's been there a while, right? Your boss is one. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. I'm noticing this. I'm thinking this way. What do you think? And they'll
Right.
let you know, like, I would, but hey, this person here, we need to kind of watch out for. Or, hey, this is a good plan. Or, hey, did you know there's a requirement that we have to have somebody that's certified in this? He's the only one certified, or she's the only one certified in this, Joel. So if you
Right.
get rid of them, we're not in compliance anymore.
Right.
And that's what you
Oh,
saw happen at
yeah.
Tesla. They literally
Yeah.
got rid of some people that you had to have on staff. And then afterwards, the worst feeling is going back to somebody you fired and was like, I don't want. And then being like, we kind of need you for a
Yeah.
little, like, we
Right.
apologize. We were just playing. I was just joking with you.
Right.
Right,
Yeah, that's an uncomfortable move, decision that no one wants to make. Even if you're like, I'm not hiring them back. You're like, yeah, okay, you don't want to be there either.
right.
You know,
I
once
mean,
you
who's
terminate
picking up the
somebody, you
phone?
can't really bring them back in.
I mean, you can't fix that relationship. Now,
No,
I mean, it's a bad day. So
it's a bad
again,
day.
uh, be mindful in what you do, right?
Yeah.
And how you do it,
Yeah.
right? And what was the next thing we're rolling into?
Well, you actually I just want to drop this one little soundbite. Listen
Sure.
twice as much as you speak.
Yes.
Um, So take notes, understand what that is, understand, and I'm not saying be that crazy person with the pieces of paper stuck to your wall and the red lines,
Right.
pens. Don't be that guy.
Right.
You don't have to be that, but understand what those things are. Why is that? To Joel's point, like, why is it like that? Right. Well, this person says it's because of this, and this person says it's because of this. You're like, okay, there's a story behind that. Why did we
Right.
get here? Right. And that's up to you to figure out in the first 90 days. Like, we have these problems. Here's how we got here. Here's what we'll do. And some of it may be solved by time, right? Like there's a process of my current organization that is just it's a headache. Everybody knows it's a headache, but it's going to
Right.
get fixed with the new ERP system. Okay. So you don't need to be the champion of destroying this process when that process will be taken care of by the new ERP system,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or the new whatever, the new project. That's just the time, right?
Right.
We just need to outlive it. So that's what it is.
And I
So
mean,
first,
and then like a nugget too is if you do have somebody who is difficult, right? Is the word I
right,
use. Or special is the word I like to use, right? And they have all this inherent knowledge, not to be like anybody who is a one-stop gap, right? You hear people say, like, if they got hit by a bus, what will we do? I always like to say, if they win the lottery, what will we do, right? I don't want nobody to die, but
no,
if they won the lottery and didn't come in, what we do? Find those key, like your first 90 days, you're finding those stop gaps,
right,
those knowledge that if they walked away right now, we would be in trouble, right?
right,
And then fill that in, right? So
right,
grabbing somebody else and say, hey, I want you to shadow this person, and learn what they do. Hey, I want you to write down your process of what you do in this situation here, because you're the only one that gets it, and we need a process document, right?
right,
Those
yeah,
are the things that you need to do because there's a risk there, right?
right,
Everything's about risk, right?
right,
And you need to negate that risk. And the way you do that is getting somebody else to learn it. And it's good for that person too, right?
right,
Now you can share that load when they leave and go on vacation. I know now I have somebody that can do that. Or if they decide to leave, right?
right,
So when you start a new job, people do leave, right?
yeah,
It is the great resignation, what we talked
yeah.
about. And
People
if that
retire.
happens, you don't want to be in a situation where you're literally like, I have nobody that can do this. I have no idea where we stored this. And now I
Yeah,
got to pick up the phone and call this
right,
individual. I've done that before.
Yeah.
I picked the phone and called people who have left that have been gone and been like, hey, I've actually gotten phone calls too from people who've been like, Joe, when you handled this contract, what did you do? That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I right. Yeah, and you're right, and it's also important to realize that these people that are the key components of whatever process or system, whatever, they understand you're not here to steal their job,
Right.
right? You're not here to remove them or replace them. And I've had to tell people like I worked for one company. There were two people out of like 15,000 people that knew how to do this, and it's like, oh, okay, like this is a challenge, right? Like, what do you do when you go on vacation? Well, nothing happens. Or will I dial in on vacation? Okay, well, either one of those is a problem,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
no, we need something to happen. If there's an emergency, well, I could just wait until I get back. You're like, no, you're a critical systems owner. Like, no. And that'll come up in a business impact analysis if somebody has one or something like that.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but just understand what those focus are. Make sure those people know that they're not in jeopardy. You're not getting replaced.
Nope.
We are supporting you from underneath, right? You don't want to worry about this while you're on vacation. You don't want to worry about this. And please don't, and I keep telling you, please don't worry about your job.
Right.
You are very secure. You're a great
Right.
employee. People talk really well about you, and don't worry about that. I need to know that if something happens and you need to walk away from this, that we're okay,
Right.
that you can walk away feeling comfortable and confident. So just again, culture, be very careful, be
Right.
sensitive of that. People are like, well, this was my thing for the last 10 years, five
Yep.
years, and
This
this
is
new
my
person
baby.
just
Right.
yeah, this is my baby. This person's coming
Right.
in and they want to take this from me. Like
It's my
anybody in
baby for
that,
me. Right. Right.
anybody's going to be really kind of defensive in that way. So,
You know what
even
else? You know what else you should do too in that same vein of starting out? Set meetings, right? I
yeah,
know we're moving to that. You need to have meetings with your coworkers, right? Talk with them, your counterparts, and
yeah,
even management, right? No matter what level you come in, you can learn something from everybody.
right,
And you just build a rapport with people as well, right?
right,
So they don't know you, you don't know them. You need to get to know each other because you're going to be in the trenches together for a while. So have meetings with your team, right? With your coworkers, with people you report to, their counterparts if possible. Like set that on a schedule of a 15-minute, like, hey man, I just want a coffee meeting, right? Is what they'll
right,
call it. Drink coffee, drink water, right? But have
right,
a meeting where you just go over things in a different setting just to be like, hey man, hey, you got two kids too? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, hey, like get to know things other than work. And it helps you out when you're in these meetings, right?
yeah,
It also helps you with learning their names and what they do, right?
yeah.
Which is a hard thing. Take notes, right? I take
Yeah,
notes all the time. And in my notes, what we talked about last week was about writing down names and positions when you are interviewing, but also do that when you're in the job as well. You're at the tables, a bunch of people around you, and you're writing down, okay, so John is here, he's in this department, does this. Okay, Sally, she's here. Like, know who it is so that when you address them, you can say specifically their name and you know what they do, right?
right,
And you know who to email, right? That
right,
always was something too in my first 90 years. I know I was in a meeting with somebody and they work in this department. I need to ask them a question, and now I'm trying to remember their name, right?
right,
Man, that's hard, right? But if I go to
yeah,
my notes, I'm like, okay, it's here. I got it, right? Or I have to go back to the invite, right,
right,
and figure out who it is, right?
right.
But yeah,
Was
no,
that
right?
that
No,
person? Yeah.
it's a Matt, and then God forbid it's two Matts. I don't know which Matt it was,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a so
Right,
Mike, like the one of the last companies I worked for in the office I worked out of, there were 9 mics. You're like, it was a
right,
mic. You're like, and somebody's like, I talked to a mic. You're like, what did they look like? I was on the phone. Like, it's like playing that.
yeah.
Who is it,
What
Gabe?
did they
Like,
sound like,
did they
right?
have a Southern accent? Was it
Yes,
a
and that puts
Southern
us down to four,
Baptist?
right? Was it deep South or mid South?
Did they sound like they grew up in the city? Like, help me understand here. Were they rough around the edges? Did they make
Right.
jokes? Did they, yeah,
They say
yeah.
y'all. Was it
Did
a
they, was
y'all
there
in
a
there?
y'all in there? Yeah, or were you all?
Hey, okay, I know who you're talking about. That's
Right,
Mike
right.
D. Okay, let me get you on.
Shoemake, right? Eckler. You're talking about Eckler.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Let me get
right.
you over to him. Yeah. Okay,
Um,
what's next?
And then so like, we talked about this in a previous episode. Your first 90 days kind of set the tone for you, right?
Mhm.
And as your reputation, how you approach things, your collaboration with other people, how you're going to solve things with your peer group and
Yeah,
senior leadership. Um, how people see and approach you, right? Like, are you a door always open kind of person? Are
right,
you, hey, reach out to me but copy my boss kind of person? Or reach out to me but copy my peer kind of person? That's important too, right? And that's not to say that that can't shift over time to match the needs, but
mhm,
you know having people get comfortable with how you work and how you solve problems, the reason they hired you,
right,
that's important, right? And making sure people know that that's how you're going to work and solve problems and keep it going, right? Keep
right,
things moving and everything else, that's important, right? I think you brought up a good point where, you know as you're creating this persona of who you are at the new workplace, right? You don't have to carry the bad stuff that came with you, or your burnout and everything else from your. As a matter of fact, if you left the last job because of burnout, do yourself a favor and leave that behind.
yeah,
Absolutely, whatever it takes
yep,
to leave that behind, leave it behind.
yep,
Come into the new job refreshed. Come into the new job focused and eager to solve problems and meet new people and challenge things and everything else. But get rid of all the old bad stuff that maybe your old persona had, and that's a little bit of self reflection right there, right?
it
Understanding like,
is,
okay, I might have been a little frustrated. I might have had this. I might have had that. I'm not going to do that this round. I'm not going to act this way. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to let people get to me. If people get to me, I'm going to meet it head on immediately. Like, hey, it's probably an inappropriate comment. And let people know that, like, yeah, when you do that or when you say that, that's an inappropriate comment. I really, I'm not comfortable with that.
right,
Right. And just establish that. You don't need to be mean or like, you can't say things like that in the workplace. You're like, yes, you can't say things like that in the workplace, but you don't need to smack people around when you say it,
right,
right? Just let
right.
people know it's inappropriate and uncomfortable.
You
Um,
you know
let
what else is crazy is I always love feedback. So I
Yeah.
remember I started a job and I'd have meetings and I'd always talk about my previous company, right? Well, here, this is what we did, and my team did this, and this is how we're gonna do it. And what I thought I was doing was just giving examples, right? Of this,
Mhm.
and then somebody came up and was like, "Look, man, we know you did big things at your other company, but you're always using them as example, like comparing us to them, is what it feels like." So then I started like not using that. That just was a habit of mine, where I
Yeah.
thought I was just giving you like at my old company, this is what we would do type stuff, and it got annoying after a while to people, right?
Mhm.
So now what I try to do is be mindful of that, right? You're at a new company, it's a new way of doing things, and you want to limit that. You don't want people to be sick of like, we get it, man. You're at Microsoft, right? We get it. You're at
Right.
Apple. Like,
You were
okay,
a
fine,
GE. Yeah.
right? Like this is we're here now, right? And
Right.
just use examples, um, just industry wide, right? Hey, I know that other companies are doing things like this. This could work out. I've seen it happen at other ones that I've seen. Versus saying at my old company, this is what we did. We should do this, right?
Right.
Try to use different examples, right? You
Yeah.
want to be included in the conversation, and people you want people to feel comfortable with you and not annoyed by you coming in, right? And
Good
that's
feedback.
easy to do, right? So you can come
Yeah.
in and you think you're helping out and adding value to the conversation, and what you're doing is just annoying everybody, right?
You're boasting. Yeah.
You're boasting
No,
is
that's
what
that's a
you're
good
doing,
point.
and that's not your intent, right? So
Yeah.
again, it goes back to the listening twice as much as you speak. Um, so make sure you do that, right? Make sure you
Right.
come in and have a clear understanding of what it is that's going on, and be mindful of the examples and what you add. And because of that, it sets the tone for you for the rest of the company, which is what we talked
Yeah.
about in the green room. Is you want people to feel like, yo, he's sharp. You want people to listen when you speak. But if you're not adding value to the conversation and they're annoyed by you, it's going to be hard to get things approved. It's going to get
Right.
hard to get people to listen to you because they've shut off now, right?
Right.
And you've only been there for a couple of weeks and they've already shut down,
Right.
right? And that's not what you want, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just remember, your goal is for people to walk away and be like, "Yo, I'm glad he's here," right?
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
them to be excited about having meetings with you. You want them excited about what you do and see you as a value add, right? And not why did we hire this individual?
Right.
Like how much are we paying this guy? Yeah,
How much are we paying this person?
exactly.
Right.
Like what did we do? We could have literally left that position wide open, right?
Right.
Vacant.
Right.
And I've seen that happen, right? And you don't want that. Knock on wood,
Yeah.
that hasn't been me, but you just don't want that, right?
Right. Right. All right, well, let's talk takeaways. So the first one is important. This is as you're starting day one, stay in touch with
Mhm.
HR, with your supervisor, with your team and peers. Just stay in touch. That first week is chaotic. Maybe you're in orientation or training, or you're a remote employee, so it's very easy for people to be like, "Oh yeah, the new guy or the new girl."
Right.
We forgot all about them. Just
Right.
stay in touch, reach out. Consume as much as you can. Be careful, right? Obviously, it can get overwhelming.
Right. Hey,
There's your famous,
know your know your like introduction speech, right? So you're
yeah,
gonna have to say that. Hey, we got a new meeting, we got a new person, he's the person of whatever. Joel,
right,
tell us a little about yourself, right?
right.
Be ready with that. Have it,
That's a
I
good
don't
point.
say be scripted, but make sure that you know what you want to say. Hey, I'm
Yeah,
Joel, I've been in the industry for many, many years. I'm coming from this company here. I'm excited to be here with you. Here's some of the things that I'm looking forward to. Just I really want to help.
yeah,
So anybody wants to talk and whatever, whatever, like have that already set up. You're gonna
yeah,
say that like 800 times, right?
yeah,
Every meeting you go into, so you should be ready for that. Hey, as I stated before, for y'all who have to hear this again, blah blah blah.
right,
Like, and then
right.
and then tell them something else. Like, hey, I got a daughter, I got a wife. Been married
Yeah,
for very long, whatever, whatever, right? Whatever
yeah.
the
I
key thing
like
is,
fly
give them,
fishing. I like this. Yeah, I play
right.
guitar. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like give them
be
some little nugget about your personal life, right?
right,
Which endears them to you. Like they know, like, oh, okay, man. Hey, you said you had a daughter that was, 10 years old. I got a daughter too that's 10, right?
right,
That's how you start generic conversations, and then you have a starting point that you can build from.
right, right. And then, yeah, like I said, you're a little listen twice as much as you speak. That's a good
My
one. You're
grandmother
gonna
always said that.
hear.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna
2 ears in one mouth.
so much. You're going to see so much. Just take notes, right?
Take
Don't
notes.
evaluate right away.
Take
That's the
notes.
other part. Like listen, digest, and then
Mhm.
evaluate, right? Like don't just say, "Oh, all right, I heard this little bit. This has got to be it." That's the problem. Like, save your evaluations, double check, right? Don't take somebody else's fact as your truth, right?
And I would
There's
say also know when to ask the right questions, right? So there
good
may
point.
be something that's talked about, and you want to ask the question like, "Tell me more about this," but it may not be
Right.
appropriate because of the goal of
Timing.
that meeting, right?
Right.
And what you may need to do is take somebody to the side afterwards to say, "Hey, I heard you talking about this. What is that about?" Because what you
Right.
don't want to do is ever derail a meeting either, where it's
Right.
completely off topic. That frustrates the person who is running the meeting, right? Who wants to get something accomplished, and you have to think about how much money is around the table,
Right.
right? Meetings
Right.
should have a purpose, right?
Right.
And in that purpose, you should walk away with some key goals and things that need to be accomplished, right? And what you don't want to do is derail it now, and now we got to spend extra time because we didn't accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. Just
Right.
want to throw that out there.
Yep. Yeah. No, no, that's a good one. That's a good one. So your first 90 days, they're important. They, like I said, they establish your tone, right? Your who you are, what you're there to accomplish. Make sure it's appropriate. Make sure it's who you want to be. Right. Every day you wake up, you have the opportunity and choice to be the person you want to be. Right. Don't be like, oh, wish I could be like that person. Be that person. Right.
Right.
You want to be a good human being that solves problems and contributes.
Yep.
Wake up and be that person. Every day is a new opportunity to be the person you want to be. Always be Batman. No,
Always
I'm
be.
kidding. Um, but make sure that every day you focus on that. You're absorbing. You're not dictating. Well, at the end of the 90 days or whenever your leadership has set expectations of when they expect things to happen. Because I've walked into some jobs where like we expect things to happen immediately, and you're like, okay, like I got brought in to terminate an entire group of people out in an office, and I was like, all right, let's find out why and what we can do about it and this and that, right? And I
Right.
told the guy, I was like, there's no way to save these people. And he's like, no, I didn't say that. He's like, I'm just being told what I'm being told. And they're like, all right, well, let me see if I can save them. Right.
Right.
And he's like, all right, well, how long do you need? I'm like, how long can I have? And 30 days. Great, give me 30 days. And I worked with those people and I said, look, here's the value of this team here. Picanha, or however you say it. Just like we want to make that huge. How do we make that
Right.
huge?
Right.
And they were like, oh, we didn't realize we were so close to the precipice. And you're like, oh yeah, you were pretty close to the edge, my friend. They brought
Man,
me into.
you off the edge, right?
You see this black hood? I was meant to put this on and execute all of you.
Yeah.
So
I'm talking about
and
close to the edge. You were off the edge.
you
Like
were on the edge.
I drug you
You hear
back.
that whistling noise?
Yeah. You hear
That's
the
not
train
something
up coming.
falling, right? That's you falling.
Uh, that
But
is me
yeah, so that's
saving you. Right.
it. Just it, those are uncomfortable scenarios and situations as they happen. Just be prepared
I
and
think as another takeaway is ask them, what is it that you would like accomplished, right?
that's a great yeah
What do you want to see, right?
yeah
And what I found out is like I move so fast in my thinking and what I want to get done, and I hold myself to a pretty high standard when I'm managing of like I want to get this much accomplished, and really what
yeah
they want is like this much. They're like, no, Joe, we just want you to, get us a couple of policies and procedures, make sure they're
right
good, and you know do an audit right quick of
right
where we at. And you're like, what? Like that was going to be done in an hour. Like,
right right
great. So my thing is, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Right? Understand the culture. Understand you have time.
yeah
Then understand too if you don't have time. Right? They could say, "Hey, Joel, we got an audit coming up in 3 weeks, and we need to be ready for that, and we
yeah
need you to be prepared for that." Well,
okay
now everything else you're doing that should be your top priority. I
right
need the. They told you what they wanted, right? And
right
then you'll get to everything else after that because they're not going to come back and say, "Well, Joel, we're glad you did all this other stuff, but the one thing we
but
wanted
you
you to
didn't
do was get ready for this, and you didn't do that,
yeah
right? We
no
told you,
yeah, and that goes part with the feedback, right?
yes,
Hey, just we're end of week one. This is what I worked on. Is that kind of what your expectations are? Yeah, that's exactly. Oh, by the way, are you still doing the audit in 2 weeks? You're like, yes, I am. Here, these are things we're building up to that and everything. Yeah,
right,
so good
right.
deal. All right,
So,
any final thoughts or anything? Don't do it.
no,
Don't do
GI
it.
Joe.
Oh,
Hey, knowing is half the battle, right? And once you know, you apply. I always say too. I say make it a great day because only you can, right?
yeah.
You're the only one
Okay.
that dictates what kind of day you're gonna have, right?
Right.
And you choose to let things distract you or upset you. So with a new job, you're doing a fresh start. Come in every day with a smile on your face, ready to make good things happen, right?
No, that's
And I
good.
think good
That's
things
good.
will happen if you have that
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah, yeah, there's something to be said for positive mindset. Absolutely.
Yep, yep.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey everyone, if this is your first video, welcome. Hope you liked it. Hit the like button if you did like the content. If you have some thoughts or anything, please feel free to leave them in the comments section, either in YouTube or at LinkedIn or wherever the social engine that you found this on. Please hit subscribe if you do like it. We try to put out content at least once a week. This week we're going to have two, and then next week we're going to take the week off, and then we're going to have the holidays coming up soon. So hopefully, you guys can take your time and go through these, but also leave us some feedback if you liked and heard what you liked what you heard. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful week.